We're rolling.
Hey gang, David Guppel, Thinker Farmer here. One of the big topics that comes up in farming is how to be successful, how to make a go at it, and to really get things done or make things happen, how to have a great farm, great group of individuals working on it. The animals are slick and beautiful, and really a wonderful lifestyle on the farm. And a lot of people that are coming to this, they see a lot of the cool infrastructure, different electric fencing, and all the neat things that these farms have. But if you start looking around the country at some of the really successful farms, the people that have built not just a great farm, but a great life, they usually are based on really great teams, where there's really great communication and community and really good management and leadership. And Grant, you're going to be putting on with Joel Salatin from Polyface Farm, you're going to be putting on with the Stockman Grass Farmer. You've been writing articles in the Stockman Grass Farmer now, which is, I'll say this, it's probably, if you're not subscribed, the Stockman Grass Farmer is probably number one. It's one of the leading, for sure, articles or publications that has been put out for years and years now. Allen Nation started it. It's one of the greatest if you want to make a living on the grass and on the land. And tell us about the school you and Joel are putting on.
Yeah, so we're so it's in October. It's like October 24th or 25th. Go to Stockman Grass Farmer to find out all the details. But that little 2-day course that we're putting on, I think it evolved from conversations that Joel and I had about what separates successful farms from non-successful farms, or what separates successful homesteads from unsuccessful homesteads. Right. And if you look at Polyface and you look at some of the other farms, one of the things that's just so that you can, it's hard to describe it, but when you see it.
That's right.
It's the community, and it's the excitement and all the people involved. And just like you said, that involves really building the community and building the individuals that make up the farm.
That's right.
Especially most of us who are doing like grass-fed beef, or we're doing pasture poultry, or we're doing homesteading. In some way, shape, or form, we're either consuming our product or we're selling that product direct to consumer. So we're not selling cattle at the auction, we're selling ground beef and steaks, right? And so it's super important for us to to communicate with our customers, be able to communicate with our staff, and really pay attention to the people part, to be people-centric on the farm.
That's right.
And that really...
Not just machine-centric or tools.
That's right. Yeah, and we all need, we all have equipment, and we all have equipment issues, and we have tech, and we have protocols, and we have, husbandry practices, and all of that stuff is like super important. But I'm convinced that, if somebody gave me $1 million and said, hey, Grant, set up your farm with $1 million budget, however you want to do it, whatever fencing, barns, whatever.
Chance of a lifetime.
Yeah, chance of a lifetime,
yeah.
Right? I am still gonna focus on the people and the people-centric aspect of the farm, because
absolutely.
I know I can easily go out and spend that $1 million budget, but if I'm not, not focused on building up my skill set of, just like what you said, team building, leadership, communication, if we can't build those things, the farm is not going to succeed, even with that kind of a budget. And so it's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's way more important to have a great, healthy relationship with your team than to have a green tractor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then let's just say, if you are a very good communicator and you believe in things like reciprocal relationships and emotional bank accounts, you have a neighbor that has a tractor that you can borrow. And
that's right.
And the reason that
it might be green.
Right, it might be green. In our case, we have red tractors. They're red John Deere, so they're Yanmars. And
right.
So, because Yanmar made John Deere for years.
That's right. That's right.
So, say we have red.
They're still not green though,
right,
Grant.
Right. We have red John Deeres on our farm. So anyway, So yeah, so if you have that kind of relationship with your neighbors, if you need that piece of infrastructure or equipment, it's there for you because you've built up that relationship with the other people. And it's the same thing with your staff. So if you're a farmer and you've got staff on your farm and you train them and you communicate with them, and you make them part of your mission, and what you're trying to do, they will be good staff. I'm not saying that you should have, we have very high expectations for our staff. And so we have very high expectations, but the higher the expectations are, the more tools we're going to give them to do their job better. And it's up to us.
You're going to deal fairly with them.
That's right. It's up to us to have the communication with them so that they feel like they're part of what we're trying to do. And sometimes they'll say, hey, Grant, the way that you're doing this does not make sense at all.
Wow.
And I'll say, well, give me a chance to kind of explain where I'm coming from in a non-aggressive way, like I have to put my ego on the side. And I'll say, hey, look, this is kind of like where I'm coming from. This is why we're doing it this way.
That takes a ton of humility.
It does. It does.
Especially when you've been doing it 20 years.
And they may come up with a great idea on how to do something, and I'll go, you know what? I'm an idiot for not thinking of that. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so that requires that two-way communication. And it's the same thing with our customer base. When we get the calls of, how do we cook this? I bought this from
They cooked
y'all.
a steak in a microwave.
Yeah, or they put the raw pork sausage in the microwave to cook it in the microwave.
No.
You get these phone calls, and then at that point we take our farmer hat off and we put our grocer hat on. Now we're in the grocery business,
right?
And so we really have to pay attention to how do we educate, how do we share. And it takes a tremendous amount of patience to do that.
It does.
And so, but that intention and being aware of how you're interacting with people, that really separates the successful farms from the non-successful farms.
It really does.
Because of social media and everything, with farms having a Facebook presence or whatever. We can kind of see when farms go out of business because they're going to say they're going to do a post like, "Hey folks, thank you so much for supporting us. We've decided to shut our farm down because of," and they'll list the reasons. They're very rational reasons. They're real reasons, but all of the reasons why they're shutting down, I believe, is because number one, they didn't communicate with themselves.
Ouch.
And so they didn't set up the scenario, and they didn't set up their strategic goals to where
they didn't have the time to put it together themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And that actually really had it put them in a scenario where they had a real low quality of life. They were always stressed out, and so those things need to be discussed openly with yourself and with your partners and your spouse and all that kind of stuff, and in order to be successful. So I really, if you do a post-mortem of all of the direct-to-consumer farms that have decided to close, I would say the past 5 years for sure, it's because of some of these little things they're just not doing. They're working really hard, and
they're working their tails off.
They're putting the fencing in, and they're buying the right genetics, and they're buying the right feed, and they're doing everything right.
Yep.
Except for that little part of communication, community building, team building, leadership, goal setting, and having real honest conversations about themselves. So when I write the articles for Stockman Grass Farmer, that's where I'm coming from,
right?
Because I really think that's the secret sauce
to success.
To success for farms, absolutely.
And on top of that, it isn't just about success, gang. It's also about having an enriched and wonderful life. If your farm business is just for success and money and whatever how you want to define success, and you're not really enjoying it, the thing is, relationships is what makes it all work, and relationships is what makes it really enjoyable and fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yep. And even in, like, a lot of people leave the city because they want to do the homestead.
Right.
That we're definitely in an
They're
era.
burned out on the commuting and all the.
Yeah, and the one thing that they didn't consider is they're so used to a social life because in the city everything is accessible. There's places right down the street or a mile away, but if you move out to a rural area, all of a sudden,
it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes away.
And so then they end up getting, they're not hanging out a lot with their friends and family. It's harder to hang out. They're a little bit more isolated.
They're already working their butts off.
Right, and so that needs to be worked into the plan. And so that is actually a reason why a lot of people will end up saying, forget this is too much work. I'm going to go back to buying my eggs at the grocery store, and they go back to town. It's because they didn't identify that as a potential problem and then make a plan to deal with it. And so, there's 1,000 little things like that.
Exactly.
And you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
But it doesn't hurt to plan and think about all these things, because it could be just a little thing like we can't hang out with our friends anymore because we're now living in a rural area. That is that could be
could burn you out.
It could be a burnout. It could be a burnout. It could be a complete reason why people don't succeed. So it's little things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in conclusion, Grant, what's the name of the school? We were trying to think of the name that you and Joel are putting on.
Yeah. So
there's still some slots. Pretty good number of slots.
Slots available still. So it's small, smart, special. I think in that order. It's myself and Joel Salatin at Polyface Farms in Jackson, Mississippi, at the Stockman Grass Farmer facility, or wherever we're going to be meeting in Jackson. And it's October 24th, 25th, I believe.
That is awesome, Grant. Well, with that, gang, Grant, thank you so much for interviewing on the channel. It's always a pleasure to come visit. I'm glad we got to do some YouTube videos together. And with that, gang, take care. Check local cooling farms out. Check out if you're looking to take your homestead or your farm to the next level and improve communication. Check out this school, small, smart, and special. I don't want to say it's one chance of a lifetime, but it really could change things for you on your farm. And with that, gang, blessings for the journey. Take care.